Welcome. Those of you that are just logging on to our session on ChatGPT for teachers. I'm just going to give it a minute or so to allow people to log on. And well done if you managed to navigate here on time and you got through the tech and you're here. So whilst we're waiting for people to join us, I will do a very quick introduction of myself and the session, and then I will let my two fabulous guest speakers introduce themselves. So my name is Jane Bell. I am a teacher. I'm an author. I wrote a book called Time Smart Teaching, and I have a short course for teachers called the Teacher Freedom Program. And my mission in life is to help other teachers to stop taking their work home, to stop their, taking their books home to mark, basically to stop teaching, take over their life and invade all of their free time. And that is why I'm hosting this session today. And that is why I am here on LinkedIn and I am posting, because about 12 years ago, I was a very stressed out, newly qualified teacher, very close to burning out, exhausted, working 60 hours a week. And it was a horrible place to be. And at that time, I had no support. I didn't have access to anything like this. And so that is why I'm putting on these events for you guys, for you educators, so that, you feel like you have some support. And so I will quickly now hand over to our two guest speakers, and they're going to introduce themselves to you. We are all teachers, okay? So we are all still very much in the classroom. So we know exactly what the challenges are, day to day at the chalk face. So if we can have Harun Böke, please, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience? Thank you. Make sure you're not on mute.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Jane, for this great opportunity. I'm Harun Böke. I'm a maths teacher. I'm currently helping my students learn maths in Cyprus in an international school. And I've been using flipped learning for over a decade now. I started doing that in 2012. And my initial motive was to keep the students a bit on in the behavioral zone, because they were misbehaving. It was a boys' school in Abu Dhabi, so it was really hard. But then I discovered a lot of advantages of flipped learning, and currently I'm working on a flipped learning virtual campus. I'm trying to create one, and there will be modules like Flip Learning 101, how to flip your courses, AI augmented flip learning, and so on. I would like to showcase how I do flip learning, because it really gives you the opportunity to personalize your students' learning journey. And in that journey, you can build positive relationships, you can apply mastery learning, and you just get, job satisfaction. That's the most important for us. And also, I will be talking about how you can reduce your workload, because flip learning, when you get prepared and you're getting prepared, it's a lot of work. You have to create the materials and you have to plan your lessons accordingly. But once you have it, it's all about rectifying and modifying bits and pieces. So it's not too much work on the planning side. It's rather implementing, and it's really great. I would never return to what I was doing before. Thank you.
Thank you, Harun. I noticed that someone just popped their hand up there. So just so that people know when you can ask questions, after each guest speaker has done their 5-10 minute slot about how they're using ChatGPT, I will then allow time for questions from the audience. So if you could just park any questions that you've got until that point, and then we will open up the floor. Thank you for introducing yourself, Harun Böke. We're now going to come to Ola ElKhatib. If you would like to introduce yourself, please, to the audience.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Ola ElKhatib and I have grown up in Saudi Arabia, but I am on passport from Egypt. I never lived in Egypt and I currently live in Dubai since 2017 and I've joined the international teaching team since I came to Dubai in 2017. Before that, I have done two years of teaching in Saudi Arabia. So when I came to Dubai, I wasn't expecting at all any of the challenges that I was hit in the face with. Why? Because I have already done 2 years of teaching in Saudi Arabia, because also I was always involved with the British education since I was very, very young. As my siblings used to go to a British school in Saudi Arabia, and I was always tutoring and teaching them and even doing their parents' evenings. I was also a top performer in college. My initial plan was to actually work in the teacher training field. And then the laws changed in Saudi Arabia the year I graduated to not allow non Saudis to teach in universities. So I had to go for plan B, and that was for me to just go and gain the international experience and then do my master's degree and then go back to my initial dream, which I am back to as of today. I started my first day as a teacher trainer or a teacher tutor at Pedagogical Transformations, and I have done an amazing session today, which I really enjoyed. I'm so grateful to be back to my dream. However, I'm still in the classroom just like all of you, and I know how hard it is to be there. I feel for you. I'm very authentic about the challenges that we are faced with in this field, and which is why I decided to train to become a well-being and mental health coach as well. So at OlavatEd, where I pour my soul and knowledge and years of dedication since I came to Dubai, I've been doing nothing but just work and study, work and study, and work and work and work and study. I'm pouring everything out there because my vision is really to make education more humane by allowing for that personal flourishing and fulfillment to happen. And the way I see it is just by making sure that the right talent is able to stay in the classroom, but we need to really pave the path a little or even too much for them. And to do that, we have to model the change ourselves. So I'll always advocate for teachers' empowerment, teacher voice, student voice, more equality, more partnership in education. And I will also always advocate for energy saving mode or managing your energy besides managing your time, because time is non-renewable, whereas energy is renewable. And one way to do that is to use ChatGPT, which I'm very excited to tell you about my secrets in this today. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Ola, for that introduction. So between the three of us, we have like a wealth of, years of experience. We're very much an international community here, and I'm delighted to welcome teachers and educators from literally all over the world. So let's get started. So we now have, I think, probably most people have joined that are going to join, so we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. So I thought I would start the session by sharing a joke. Now, I am pretty rubbish with telling jokes, just ask my husband. So I thought I would ask ChatGPT to suggest a joke for me. Well, it turns out that ChatGPT is not that great at coming up with teacher jokes, but I picked the best one. Are you ready? It says, "Why did the teacher go to the beach with the computer? Because she wanted to surf the net." Get it? Surf the net. And I'm sure that if I could hear you all, you'd be groaning at how awful that joke is. But that was just a little demonstration about one of the things that you could do with ChatGPT. So, how does ChatGPT actually work? So I asked ChatGPT to tell me in simple terms, how is it that you work? I already kind of know, but I wanted to be able to put it to you guys in a really basic way that you can all understand, especially since we have people here that are maybe not native English teachers. So here it is in a nutshell. ChatGPT is very much like a smart computer program, one that you can talk to. Imagine you can send it messages or written requests just like you would if you were texting on your phone. ChatGPT has learned many things by reading lots and lots of internet content, so it knows about a wide range of topics. It's also very good with different languages, so it can understand and talk and answer questions in different languages. However, it is likely to struggle with languages that are less widely spoken because it's learning from written content on the internet. So the best language it performs best at, unsurprisingly, is in English. And that's just because it hasn't had that online training to go through languages that are less widely spoken or written. So just make sure that you are aware of that when you are using ChatGPT in your work or for your personal life. I just want to let you know that this session is being recorded. In terms of the audio is being recorded, I want to let the audience members know that, just so that they're aware if they want to speak or ask a question. I have someone wanting to speak, who is Monica. So I'm going to briefly let Monica speak, and then we are going to go to our first guest speaker, which is going to be Ola. So Monica, let's see, what question have you got? Allowed to speak. Okay, Monica, you've got the floor. Monica, have you unmuted yourself? Okay, Monica, let's try you again. Monica, can you speak? Monica, I'm not hearing anything from you there. Let's try one more time. I'm not sure why it's not letting you speak, Monica. Okay, so I'm just going to take back control. It says here a problem occurred while allowing the attendee to speak. Please try again. So let's just try once more. No. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry, folks. Okay. So we're going to turn over to Ola in a second. Each of our guest speakers is going to spend between 5 and 10 minutes just explaining and chatting to you about how they are using ChatGPT in their own lives with teaching, planning lessons, designing curriculum, and doing any other teacher tasks, and how they've used it to do things, better, smarter, and quicker. So Ola, we're going to come to you first, and let's see how you've been using it.
Thank you so much. So I was surprised that many of the Arabic and Islamic teachers think that they cannot use ChatGPT just because they use the Arabic language. ChatGPT is actually very efficient when it comes to the Arabic language. And I am myself one of these teachers. I am an Arabic and Islamic teacher, and I use it every day. And I can't just imagine how my life would be without it. It's my best friend now, and I always feel like I'm doing teamwork. Research actually suggests that the future of the workplace will be for those who can collaborate not just with human beings or workmates, but also with ChatGPT. Because if you are a good collaborator, you will know how to get the best out of ChatGPT. If you are not, you're gonna get, sorry to say this, but rubbish answers from ChatGPT, because it does. It gives you, the first answer it will give you will be always not the best. And then if you just give up and close it and do everything on your own, you're never going to learn how to get the best out of ChatGPT. So firstly, you need to embrace the mindset of being very, very open-minded learner. That's number one. Number two, you're going to treat ChatGPT as if you're dealing with, let's say, an 8-year-old child who has wonders to give, but they just won't give you unless you ask them the right way. So how I do it? For example, I have the verses that are in Arabic, and I used to do that manually myself, and it used to take me ages. I would write the transliteration myself, because if I take it from a website, it's always loaded with mistakes. So I would ask actually ChatGPT to write now the English transliteration of the Arabic verses, and it does it perfectly. Sometimes it mixes the letter the with the letter za, because it's is not a letter in English. It's a combination of D and H or T and H. So that's why you just need to double check that. However, other than that, it's perfect. And then instead of using the website's translation as well, which is very outdated because it uses the Romanian or the Shakespeare English, I just ask ChatGPT to translate the verses to English. I, of course, double check it because in case of any mistakes or anything, but it's way faster than doing it manually as I used to do it before. So that's one thing. When it comes to my Arabic classes, I teach different levels. So I would have the text myself, but then I would ask ChatGPT to edit it to make it friendly to an 11-year-old class of beginners. Or then I would put the same text in Arabic and I would ask ChatGPT to make it friendly for 11-year-old children who are not beginners, but they are intermediate at the intermediate level Arabic class, and so on. So that works perfectly fine. Also, when I have created my lesson plan already with the main structure or the main ideas, I would copy and paste it to ChatGPT and ask for improvements. And you will be surprised that when you ask ChatGPT to create something from scratch, it usually gives you a horrible or terrible answer. But when you give it something that you have already initiated your ideas on, just like if you are doing teamwork, when you are doing teamwork, you don't ask people to do your own work. You give them ideas and then they would elaborate on these ideas. So that's the same with ChatGPT. I would give it my ideas and then I would ask it to improve them or to fix them. I also do the same when in the midst of a very busy day, when I receive an email and I'm like, I just copy and paste the email and I give it to ChatGPT and I tell it what exactly I wanted to say. Now, some people might be like, okay, you're doing everything yourself. What's the point of using ChatGPT if you are asking ChatGPT to do what you have already done? Well, here's the thing. I write it very quickly. I give it the orders explicitly, yes, but despite some spelling or grammar mistakes, I don't care because ChatGPT is gonna get it and it will give me just the right answer that I need. Sometimes I will need even more modification, so I will say, no, the colleague is asking for 1, 2, 3, and I want you to say 1, 2, 3. But then it rephrases it very beautifully and very nicely, and then you would also ask it, please make the language more friendly. Let's say a student is absent for a week and you want to check in on them. So you just give it the very basic information. Sulaiman is absent for a week. I need to check in on them despite that they haven't done their homework. That's not what I'm concerned about. I'm really concerned about their health. And then you ask it to write the email for you. You give it very detailed instructions if you wish, like keep the language warm, keep it emotional, or even keep it formal, up to you, your choice, and it will just give you what you wanted. When it comes also to the loads of paperwork that we do in education, like schemes of work or like curriculum overview, you don't need to do everything on your own. You just need to give it very small samples. So let's say you want the learning objectives for this topic. Well, we have topics that tend to repeat, but with different content. So you have the same topic, but then you have a different story about it. Or as in the Islamic education, we have sometimes the divine revelation, which will tend to repeat, but just different chapters of the Holy Book or different prophets' codes, hadiths. So what you do is you would tell ChatGPT that this needs to be implemented with whatever topic that goes under this standard area. So then it will just modify it accordingly whilst keeping the same structure that you wanted initially. So when it comes to paperwork, when it comes to responding to emails, when it comes to planning my lessons, even when it comes to writing my end of year or end of term reports, it comes out very personalized because you give it, again, everything that you wanted to say. It will just put it very nicely with no grammar or spelling mistakes, no he or she mistakes, because that's what happens when we copy and paste reports that we have done prior to copying and pasting them. Sometimes we overlook he or she and it comes out on the report as that. So what it does is actually even better than copying and pasting because you give it exactly what you wanted to say. You give it the word count. So let's say my school wants me to write 1,000 words for each student, or 1,000 letters, because schools have different requirements. You would just tell it that, and you would tell it, I want you to say that this student has made remarkable progress when it comes to 1, 2, 3. For further improvement, I want the student to spend the summer holiday reading about 1, 2, 3, and then it will just put that in writing in a very nice and beautiful way. So I hope this has been helpful. If you are an Arabic teacher and would like to learn more, follow me on OlavatEd. Even if you're not an Arabic teacher, I'm just saying Arabic teacher because I know that many of them think they can't use ChatGPT, which is just not true. The last thing I would say is I also use it to create my own quizzes on Kahoot, on Blockit, and all other fun platforms for quizzes, because I give it the text and I tell it, give me 10 questions that are multiple choice. And I don't even want to think about the correct answer because I don't have time. ChatGPT is there. Why would I waste my time? So I would tell it, also tell me what's the correct answer for each question. I would, of course, go again and read them, make sure that they are right. I'll do that anyway because I'll copy and paste them manually to the quizzes platform that I'm using. But it's really efficient because you don't need to waste your time thinking about what fun questions to ask about the reading text or the reading passage, because ChatGPT can do that for you. Follow me on OlavatEd and let's keep the conversations going. Thank you.
Ola, thank you. There was so much to go on there. It was funny that you mentioned using ChatGPT to make a multiple choice quiz, because that's something I was doing with it yesterday also. And I just said, I'm doing a lesson on climate change. Can you create me a lesson plan? Which it did. And then I said, can you come up with 10 multiple choice questions? Please include the answers. And in about 5 seconds flat, there you got a beautiful 10 question multiple choice quiz. And and previously, if I was doing that myself, that would have taken me like 15-20 minutes to do. So it speeds things up so much. Right, so we have a question for Ola from Amin Siddiqui. Fingers crossed, please. Will you allow me to let Amin speak? Let's try. Okay, Amin.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you so much for letting me having this opportunity to use this platform and share my thoughts on ChatGPT. To be honest, I'm about to start a private lesson, so I'm not going to bother you too much. I just want to share my own experience of using ChatGPT up until now. To be honest, it's not that much positive, especially for a math teacher. I think it's not really practical for us, and I normally suggest my students to not to use that in order to solve their questions at all. I don't know whether there is any other math teacher to experience their opinions here, but I use ChatGPT in order to improve my writing skills as a non-native teacher, English speakers, and also I use it to send and respond my emails, which is super helpful and let me save a lot of time. Jane, thank you so much for organizing this event because I need to go. But please let us know how we can download this session, the audio of this session, and please promise us to go for future events as well. Thank you.
Amin, thank you so much for coming on to speak. Our next guest speaker, Harun Böke, is actually a math specialist. So if you get the chance to listen to the recording back, he might have some better pointers for you from a maths perspective. It is not obviously a perfect system, and we have to work with what we can do with it. So good luck with your private session, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you everybody. Thank you.
Okay, so are there any further questions for Ola before we move on to listen to Harun speak from a maths teacher and flipped learning perspective? Okay, so we will move on. Harun, would you like to tell us how you've been using ChatGPT and whether you have any response to, what our guest just said then about it not being very useful for teaching maths? That'd be interesting to know.
Well, I agree. I mean, um, once I asked ChatGPT to solve a linear equation, and it was okay, but a quadratic equation, it failed to give proper solution, and the explanation had mistakes too. So when you go to ChatGPT to find answers to your maths problems, it may not be the best. But I'm gonna come to that. Um, that was a joke. I'm not sure if it's a joke or it's a real screenshot. But there was this conversation with ChatGPT. Uh, One person was saying, "What is 2 plus 5?" And ChatGPT came up with 7. And then the person says, "But my wife says it's 8." And then ChatGPT apologizes, saying, "Well, if your wife is saying it's 8, then it probably is 8. Apologies." I'm correcting myself. So I'm not sure if it is real, but ChatGPT is not very good in maths. But that's understandable because it's a large language model, it's not a large maths model. Besides, we have lots of websites not only solve linear equations or quadratic equations, they can solve derivatives, they can solve integrations, like A level stuff or even university maths. And they don't only give you the answers, they give you the solutions with all the steps. And as a student, if you want to cheat, you just go to those websites, you just put your question, you get all the steps copied, and your homework is done. So a math student does not really need ChatGPT. But things will change. These machines will evolve. They will be able to solve maths questions precisely too. Um, so while I'm not using ChatGPT for maths itself, I find it very useful in my workflow. Um, it's really easy to create lesson plans, and you can just write whatever you want precisely as a prompt. Of course, when it comes to prompting, you have to always refine your prompt to get the best result, to get the result that you want. It's not always the best, maybe. But yesterday I was trying to get a lesson plan, a student centered lesson plan with a basic structure of starter, main, and the plenary as a 1 hour lesson. And ChatGPT was able to come up with a very nice planning with a good starter and then a few activities, all student centered. And then the plenary was also good. Then I took that, created another chat, and put it there, asking ChatGPT to refine it. And then ChatGPT first com- commended on me, saying this is a really a good plan, and then it gave a few more tweaks to make it better, and I tried it again. I gave this on a new chat on ChatGPT and asked it to refine it, and then he said it's a very well devised lesson plan, but again a few tweaks. But I figured out that the last tweaks ChatGPT was suggesting was not very significant like the one it did before. So I think if I was to try it for a few more times, I wouldn't get too much of difference in terms of lesson planning. So I kind of ended up with the best that ChatGPT can give me. Now, here we're talking about prompting. It's very important to write good prompts. There are lots of prompts going out there, definitely worth trying. But after all, you know your conditions better. You know your students best. You know your school best. You know how you're going to uh, deal with your students. You know the flow of your lessons. So, yes, you try these prompts and learn from them. And then also, from those prompts, develop your own. and try to refine it. And this seems to be kind of a time consuming task, if not hard. But once you get used to it, once you uh, get more experience, you're going to get better. And once you end up with a really good prompt that gives you a nice lesson plan or anything else you're working on, keep that prompt. Start building a library of your prompts. So once you need something, you can just go with that prompt when it comes to lesson planning, when it comes to chapter planning, right? So once you have the prompt, next week you can try it again to get your next chapter ready. Or if you have enough time to deal with it, you can plan all your term without a hassle in a few hours once your prompt is working perfectly. That's one thing. Another thing I use ChatGPT is just because I'm not a native speaker of English, I find writing reports a hassle in the sense that I have like 120, 150 students. It's hard to write something different each time. So this requires some flexibility in the language. I find ChatGPT really good at that. It's not like it generates the same sentences. When I write a prompt and feed ChatGPT with examples of my style, it is able to generate pretty much useful reports. Then, of course, I need to tweak this and that a little bit, but getting a text as a report from ChatGPT is much better than starting from scratch. Reference letters is another issue. It must be formal. You have to write a lot about your students, and uh, all I have to do was to feed ChatGPT about the characteristics of the student and accomplishments and this and that. When I get a text, I can just tweak it to give a style, to give some personal touch, and then it's ready. So you can save time. However, my main point is this I've read recently. We should be considering not tasks, but workflows. So, yes, we are asking ChatGPT to write a report, to write a letter, to write an email, to write a lesson plan, but these are all bigger parts of some workflows we're doing in our work. So, we may consider what is the bigger picture here, and then we can use ChatGPT accordingly, fitting in our workflow like a partner rather than a tool. Um, I would also like to touch to homework issue here because when it first came out, everybody said ChatGPT will be cheat GPT. Students will be using it to cheat. Yes, it writes great essays. It's not very good at maths, but fine. But you see, when I read these for the first time, I said, well, welcome to the club. Because we have been dealing with such websites, which I mentioned before, um, for over a decade, maybe. I mean, students were using those websites to cheat. Now, ChatGPT came out and it can write essays. Everybody is on fire. My point is if you would like to continue assigning homework, which I would suggest otherwise, because homework does more harm than good, and it's not me saying it, it's the research. Um, if you really want to go on with your homeworks, especially social sciences, um, ask your students to shoot a short clip about their homework. You can give them a question to answer, let them go to ChatGPT to have the question answered. But then when it comes to explaining it in a short clip, well, hopefully they are going to read it, they're going to learn a little bit, if not all. And it's the same for maths and sciences too. You're giving a problem, like exercises, solve these 5 problems at home. Fine. Also, ask students to just shoot a short clip to explain one of those problems. How did they solve it? What is the problem asking? And this is their way, right? Because the best way to learn is to teach. So they will be teaching while shooting that video. And guess what? Before you know it, you're going to have a bank of short clips, a question bank of short clips, and you'll just ask your students to revise before the exam. Just go watch these videos that your friends prepared. You can even pick the best ones and put them, or you can put all of them. It's totally up to you. But that's a way of approaching homework. I'm looking at my notes. Right.
I'm really glad that you touched on homework, Harun, because actually that is one of the things that I was going to talk about, how I've used ChatGPT with my own daughter to support her homework, but not letting her cheat. So I think that's great that you've touched on it. Now I'm going to just see if anyone has any questions to ask you, because I thought I saw someone pop a hand up then, Harun. So if you just wait, did I see a hand pop up? Would anyone from the audience like to ask a question before we move on? Nope, they've gone shy. Okay. So I will take it from there. Right. Oh no, we have Amir Atef asking to speak. Okay. I will ask Amir to speak. I'm sorry, Amir, if I have said your name wrong. Let's see if I can get you to speak. I'm allowing you to speak. Amir, can you unmute yourself, darling? Yeah, there you go.
Hello, good evening. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. Just a quick question. Thank you so much for the session. I enjoyed it so much, and it's very informative. Now, my question is regarding the writing action plans, specific action plans like IEPs, for example, for ASEAN students, improvement plan for schools on leadership level. Can ChatGPT be useful in that area?
Is this a question for Harun or myself or anyone, Amir? I mean, I'm happy to take lead on this because I've been a head of department and I've led a department. Sure. I personally have not used it in that context, but I would confidently say that yes, you would be able to do so. And this is how I would go about it. So in the UK, most schools have something called a SIP, a school improvement plan. I think you said you mentioned something similar, but you called it something different. And what I would do is this. I would copy and paste the school improvement plan, bullet points, or the main things that your school has to improve into ChatGPT. And then I would ask ChatGPT, give me some ways that I can put these improvements into action. Can you suggest some strategies? And you might even say, I have staff with strengths in this area, and this area. And it might suggest ways that you can use those staff strengths appropriately. So I would say absolutely that can be done. I haven't actually done it personally, but having used ChatGPT quite a lot, I think that would be feasible. Does that answer your question, or have you got any further questions?
Yeah, that's pretty much answers the question. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, perfect. And it would be the same when you are doing appraisals. So when you are setting, the yearly targets for your staff, I've done this many times. You might want to say, I have a staff member with an exam class who are low ability, and I want them to improve, from 20% pass rate to like 60% pass rate. These are the main challenges we're experiencing. Can you come up with some solutions, some intervention, how we could do that? And then you can drill down from there. I think really there is so much untapped potential with ChatGPT that you just have to sit down and play with it. And the more you do that, the better you will get at the information that it brings you back. Okay, we've got a couple of other people. You're welcome. We've got a couple of people asking to speak. So I'm going to let Raham Sadiq speak next. Okay, Raham, I'm allowing you to speak. Make sure you unmute, please. There you go.
Thank you, Ola. Thank you, Harun. Actually, I didn't catch Ola speaking, but I agree with everything she said. She's my friend, so my comment here is Harun mentioned something very important, which is using videos and how it is very important that students express themselves. This is kind of psychological thing. So even if ChatGPT is helping them to answer the question, they can actually introduce it, teach it. And I agree 100% with Harun doing this. And this is actually being done now in colleges in US to avoid the ChatGPT sheet part of it. So thank you, Harun, for bringing this up. And thank you. This is all what I wanted to do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Rehan, for coming on. And
Thank you.
And just
Thanks.
letting us know that you've enjoyed it. Fabulous. Okay. So I'm going to move on to do my little slot now. And I'm going to try and avoid duplication of what has already been said. And I'm going to try and fill in some gaps and cover a couple of things that haven't been done already. Okay, so we've got one more speaker. We've got Larib Fatma. Let's see if she has a question. Larib, are you unmute?
Yes, I've unmuted myself. Here in India, it's 9:30. So, hello everyone over there. My question is that ChatGPT and Google Bard. So, which one would you suggest will be better for lesson planning? Google Bard and ChatGPT, among the two, which one would be better?
I have not used the other one that you're referring to, so I don't feel like I'm in a very good position to answer that question. So I'm going to turn this over to Harun or Ola. Have either of you used this other one? What was it called, Larry?
Google Bard. The other one is Google Bard. Many educationists here, they are using Google Bard and some are using ChatGPT. Google Bard is free of cost. It's not charging anything for the teachers and educators. So they are sticking to this Google Bard. So which one would you suggest will be better?
Okay, so ChatGPT is free to use.
Yeah, sorry.
Harun, have you got any experience with this other tool?
Well, I didn't use it frequently, but I suggest not to stick to ChatGPT, of course. There is this Google Bard, as Larry said. There's also Claude. Well, it is only available in United States and the UK right now, but hopefully they will expand too. What I would suggest is, what you get from ChatGPT, you can go to Claude, you can upload it and ask it to refine it. Or you can just go to Google Bard and ask it to refine, or you can ask, for example, a lesson plan to Google Bard and take it to ChatGPT to refine. So, these are the tools available for you to use, and ChatGPT has a paid version too, but it has a free version too. So I suggest you do this, going back and forth from one AI to another.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Harun. Google Bot I've not used, but I'm presuming it's just like a similar AI tool. Okay, so unless there's any more questions, I'm going to briefly go over how I've used ChatGPT to help my daughter with the homework. So as Harun mentioned, there's this, pull, isn't there, for ChatGPT to be cheat GPT. And the thing is, they're not going to be learning the skills necessary for their exam if they're just going to, get ChatGPT to do all the work. So my daughter came home with her English homework this week, and I said, let's sit down with ChatGPT and let's use this tool to help us with the homework. But what we are not going to do is we're not going to have ChatGPT do the full homework for you. So I think if we can model with our students in the class how we can use ChatGPT appropriately, then they'll hopefully be less likely just to take the quick, easy road. So this is what we did. So my daughter had an English homework and she had to write a 2-page story, an English story, and it had to be a murder mystery / kind of like horror genre story, and it had to include what we call a red herring, which is kind of like a plot twist, where something that you think is going to happen then doesn't actually end up happening. And so I said, let's use ChatGPT. So my daughter is a big fan of manga, so she reads lots of graphic novels and Japanese manga, so she knows a lot about that type of a world. So I suggested to her, why don't you write it like a manga story? And she was great with that idea. I said, let's go to ChatGPT and let's ask it for some plot ideas. So just to give her the inspiration, a basic plot outline of where she could go with the story. So we typed in to ChatGPT, I have been set English homework at high school. I need to write this story. It's going to be in the style of manga, The Demon Slayer. The Demon Slayer is the name of a famous manga book. Can you give me some suggestions about my story? It needs to have a plot twist. So that's what we wrote into ChatGPT, and it came up with about 4 or 5 plot ideas. And I said, okay, which of these do you like the best? Which one do you think you'd be most confident to write about? And straight away she picked one, and we went with that one. And then she was still struggling to start writing it. And I said, what about if we use ChatGPT to just come up with the sentence starter? Because if you're a teacher, you know that often the students, they struggle to get started with the work, right? To write the first sentence. So I said, let's see if ChatGPT can help with this. So we said, please ChatGPT, will you give us a few sentence starters to help me start off my writing? And again, it came up with like 5 brilliant suggestions. It wrote maybe 2 or 3 sentences to set the scene with the character. And from that, she was then very, very able to get on and write a page from that. So I said, we're not going to now do the work with ChatGPT. I said, that's it, we're going to leave it there. So just with that simple support from ChatGPT, she's been able to write a really high quality piece of English work. And I think if we can sit down with our students or our own children and go through that similar process and teach them how to use it responsibly, I think that is a great thing. So I have got a question from Lena M. So I'm going to ask Lena to speak. Okay, Lena. Lena, can you please unmute yourself? I can see that you're on mute. Lena, do you want to unmute yourself? Because I can't hear you speaking, my love. No, not sure. Okay, maybe she's changed her mind. So the other thing I wanted to come on to was, if you're listening and it's the very first time that you've ever used ChatGPT, I want you to think about writing a very, very short bio just to introduce yourself. Who are you? What is your role in teaching? And what is it that you want it to do? If you can just write a short bio about yourself in the chatbot and then ask what you want it to do, i.e. create a lesson plan, come up with a revision strategy, it will be so much more tailored and beneficial than if you just come up with a lesson on climate change. The more detailed you can make your prompts, the better. So for example, instead of saying, please can you write me a lesson on climate change, it's going to come up with a rubbish answer. But if you typed into ChatGPT, I am a geography teacher, I am teaching a class age range 13 to 14 years old, we are doing a topic on climate change, please can you come up with a lesson to last 60 minutes on the drawbacks of climate change. I want the lesson to include critical thinking skills. That is a detailed prompt, and that is going to give you so much of a better lesson plan than if you just asked the first way in a very, very simple sentence. I've also tried using it as a supply teacher. Sorry, not as a supply teacher. Imagining that you're off sick and that you want to, you've got to send in work for your classes. Now, when you're sick, can you think straight at like 7 a.m. in the morning and set great like work for your classes? Because I can't. You could use ChatGPT quite well for that. So I tried this out yesterday and I imagined I was a sick teacher and I had to send in work for my classes. I don't know if you have to do this abroad, but this is how it works in the UK. And I said, right, can you come up with an easy lesson for the cover teacher? The cover teacher is not going to be a geography specialist. Can you set some easy cover work? And it did come up with some great suggestions. And one of those was getting the students to use an online carbon footprint calculator and to write a report on their findings. And I was like, great, ChatGPT, which free online carbon footprint calculators are out there? I asked it that and it gave me a list of 5 free websites that the kids could go to do that. And it also came up with some other great suggestions. So when you can't think straight in those sorts of situations, ChatGPT is a super tool. Okay, I am going to end my bit there because I'm conscious we're coming towards the end of the hour and I want to allow time for a few more people to ask questions. I would like to say that I am in the finishing stages of creating a PDF guide for teachers. It's called ChatGPT Prompts for Teachers. And I am going to be following up and letting you guys know when that is available. Full disclosure, that is going to be a paid for resource at a very reasonable price point. But that is coming along if you want something from today's session that you can take to your INSET session, or that you can give a colleague something they can pick up literally with no prior knowledge, and the step-by-step guides on how you can plan a lesson there. So Ritesh, thank you for waiting with your hand up. Let's hear your question. Ritesh, can you unmute yourself, please, if you would like to speak?
Yes, Jane, Ola, and Harun, great conversations around. I just have 2 observations and something that I want to share regarding the question that Lareb asked earlier about ChatGPT versus Bard. The only major difference that I could see, or in my opinion, what I have tried out, is Bard actually throws up results from recent Google searches. So it has more live data as compared to ChatGPT. That's one major difference that you have between ChatGPT and Bard. And second is on your prompt formulation, Jane. What has worked for me is if I write in my chat prompts, assume you are a job role, and then you ask your specifics. That has worked best for me in terms of getting good answers from ChatGPT.
Thank you, Ritesh. I like that idea. Assume that you are working as a middle school teacher, or assume the job role you are a CEO or a head teacher. That definitely gives context to ChatGPT, doesn't it? So one thing you've learned from the Google bot is it actually works better if you're looking for up-to-date or more recent information. That's really good to know, because I know that ChatGPT isn't good with more recent events. So as a geography teacher, I'd have to be aware about that. I can't ask it stuff that's happened in the last year and base a lesson on that. It's not going to have knowledge about that. So therefore, I might go to this other tool if that's the case. Thank you for coming on. And have we got anyone else that would like to speak, or anyone that would like to give us some feedback on the session in general? What did you find most useful about it? Would you like something like this again for a future event? Any feedback's welcome. Sahil is asking to speak. Yes, Sahil.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Good evening, you're live.
Thank you. I was listening to you from the first word you came up with, but I was not able to speak and I was just traveling. I have one question. Just would you remind us when to be your next session, please? If that's okay with us.
Yeah, so I am going to be running these online sessions, audio events, on a monthly basis. So around about the middle of the month, every month. And they're all going to be on different topics. Is there a topic that you would like some help on?
Yeah, definitely. There are a number of topics we can work. We can speak on that. One is that can language be a barrier? If you're speaking Arabic, English, Urdu, whatever, a number of people, they just come on events and they are not able to speak. They feel like kind of hesitant. So if there's something you can come on with it, number one. That second, more about this, what you were speaking earlier about the ChatGPT. I want to learn more about that because I'm not very familiar with that.
Okay, Sahil. Thank you for that. The focus is going to be very much on education and teachers. If it falls outside of that domain, I'm probably not the best person to have an online event. But we have really tried to keep the language accessible today for, all of the international listeners. So I hope that you have been able to follow along. As I've mentioned before, this is going to eventually be, the recording is going to be hosted on my YouTube channel. One of the features that is available on there is you can turn on captions now for YouTube. I'm not sure if you can then filter the captions for a different language, but that might be useful for you. Okay.
No, sorry, interrupting you. Why did I mention, the language barrier? Because I used to take online classes. I used to teach IELTS and do a lot of stuff. That's when you come to know there are a number of people, they just feel like hesitant. They feel like let down by themselves because they are not able to have a fully command on the language. So that's the only thing I came up with.
Oh, okay. I think I've misunderstood you. I would really hope that the language barrier would not hold someone back from coming on here and speaking and asking a question. So if that is how you are feeling, please don't be shy. We're not here to judge anybody. I always say that I don't speak a second language. I admire anyone who can speak a second language, let alone come onto a public platform and speak in that second language. So I think that's an amazing thing. And I would like to thank both Harun Böke and Ola ElKhatib, both of which English is not their first language, for doing such a phenomenal job today and sharing with us. Please do follow our two amazing guest speakers. I'm just going to give them a couple of minutes now each so that they can tell you how you can follow them, what's coming up next for them, and how you can keep up to date with what they are doing. So Ola, we'll come to you first.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. It has been a wonderful session. I have gained myself so much knowledge from my colleagues and from your wonderful questions that came after. Please follow me on OlavatEd. It's available on all social media platforms. It's not just on LinkedIn. So if you're using Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, whatever platform that you tend to use, I am there with the same name, OlavatEd. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ola. And Harun, any kind of closing remarks that you would like to leave us with?
Right, you can hear me, right? Because one of my headphones is dead.
Yes, can hear you. Yes, we can hear you, Harun.
All right, great. I just would like to say flipped learning is much easier when it comes to, ChatGPT being a partner with you, because you have to plan your lessons. Flipped learning is all about giving the basics with videos to students at home so that you will have enough time for activities and tasks you can give to students to deepen their understanding. But initially it may be, it may freak you out because, well, what are you going to do if you're not going to be lecturing or solving questions or whatever? Well, ChatGPT is there to just plan your lessons. Active learning, student-centered learning. Just ask ChatGPT to tell you what they are, and then you can plan your lessons like that. I'll be touching all these in my Flipped Learning virtual campus, hoping to open doors next month, because, well, I started with, okay, I'm going to shoot 3 videos, put some resources and live events. It's going to be fine. Now, I ended up with 28 videos in the planning session. I'm still shooting videos, and I still get ideas from here and there, Jane and Ola, for example, and other pioneers. So it's hopefully I'll stop somewhere and open the doors, and then we'll move from there. I'm not a very famous celebrity like Ola, so I'm only on LinkedIn for the moment because I'm very bad in using Instagram. I was using Facebook, but I quit that. So I'm on LinkedIn only. Please connect if you'd like to hear more. Thank you very much, Jane, for this opportunity, and Ola, it was great talking with you. Right.
Thank you, Harun. And I'd like to say thank you to everyone who stayed for the full hour. We've had about 60 people listening, which is phenomenal. I would love to hear your feedback on the session. You can send me a DM, or you can pop a little note on the event page with a comment. And hopefully we will see you all next month. I haven't actually nailed down a topic for next month's LinkedIn audio session. So if you want to send me some suggestions, or if anyone here is speaking that would like to join me as a guest speaker who feels that they have some value that they can give to teachers and make their life easier, please do reach out to me here on LinkedIn. I wish you all have an absolutely amazing and blessed rest of your weekend. And if you are doing teacher training, please do make a note that you have attended this training session in your professional development journal, or whatever it is that you have to note down for your performance management. Just because it's on LinkedIn doesn't mean it's any less valuable. Make a note that you've done some professional development learning for your teaching today. We've got one last question, I think, from Beanish, and then I will let you all go. Okay, Beanish, you are the last person before we get kicked off. Beanish, you have got permission to talk if you unmute yourself.
Yeah, hello Miss Jane, how are you?
I am really
First of all,
wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for conducting such a useful session. I just want to ask that the topic will remain same for the next session, right?
I have not decided, Beanish, yet what the next topic session will be.
Today, unfortunately, due to internet connection, I missed a lot of portion of the session. That's why.
Oh, Beanish, don't worry, because I have recorded the session and it is going to stream on my YouTube channel once I've had time to upload it. So if you send me a little DM, just say, please pop me the link, and I will give you the link to the audio recording when it's available, which I'm hoping is going to be available in the next week or so. So don't worry about that.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you so much for giving us some positive feedback. Okay, everybody, session is officially over, and I hope to chat to you again soon. Bye bye for now.